Hello, welcome back to another episode of Mountain Gym Card Collectibles. Hope your week's going great so far. So, today, I usually do a lot more previews, reviews of sports card, non-sports card TCG sets, on my channel. But this week, things are really heating up with these tariffs in this trade war between China and the United States. And as a reseller, on eBay and elsewhere, I am considering whether or not I should stock up on toys to resell. And I'm sure you understand this kind of tit-for-tat trade war that we are currently in with China and the world for that matter. I know that, President Trump decided to, hold off for 90 days for, tariffs for the rest of the world, but we are still, battling China head-to-head on these tariffs. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of trade wars. Historically, trade wars usually don't do much. They're great for politicians, but for small businesses, it just creates a lot of havoc, and it makes it almost impossible to see the future, if you know what I mean. I mean, if we didn't have a trade war, we'd have a great understanding of what's going to happen this holiday season, with selling stuff. But if you're, involved in a trade war and the government's constantly making changes, it becomes nearly impossible, to use your crystal ball to, decide what do I want to do. So really the big question in this tit-for-tat war at this point, for me as a reseller, that I keep asking myself is, do I put more of my toy collectibles eggs in a basket this year than I normally would? Meaning, should I go out and start purchasing more toy collectibles than usual because of this trade war with China? And the reason why it's so important is because I just pulled it up here on Google in their Gemini AI overview here. And it talks about how China produces around 70% of the world's toys. This makes China the world's largest toy producer and exporter. While some major toy companies are diversifying their manufacturing, China's share remains substantial. And all you have to do is go to Walmart and start looking at some of their toys in the toy section. And you're going to realize that most of those toys are manufactured in China. Not all of them, I collect Hot Wheels. A lot of times those are, created elsewhere in Malaysia. But there's other toys that are, created elsewhere, but 70%, okay? So that's pretty big. Now, Amazon just recently canceled the big order out of China, obviously because they're concerned about these tariffs. And I was a little bit surprised, to see Amazon, canceling this order in this issue. So, like it says here, this came out a day ago. It's from the Mirror US. Headline says, Amazon cancels massive inventory order from China after 125% tariff raise, but vendor forced to pay $500,000 fine. I mean, that's just it with this type of business, and this trade war is, with, fines, you have to cancel stuff, whatever. It's just creating a lot of havoc in the market. All right. And I'm just going to read, this first graph here. Amazon has apparently canceled a massive inventory from China and other Asian countries, allegedly leaving some vendors on the hook for massive amounts. The items in the inventory order apparently include beach chairs, scooters, and air conditioners, according to a document reviewed by Bloomberg. Other orders placed Vietnam and Thailand were also canceled. So that's kind of surprising because that raises alarm bells for me. Vietnam? Why is Vietnam so important? I sell Funkos. A lot of those Funkos are manufactured in Vietnam, and a lot of collectibles are. The order cancellations came before Donald Trump announced that he would further increase the tariff on Chinese products to 125%, while in the same breath announcing a tariff hiatus, boosting a market that had faced intense pressure over the past 5 days. All right. This vendor, that produced these goods that were canceled, it says here, the same vendor, speaking on the condition of anonymity out of fear of retaliation, said they learned that the $500,000 wholesale order cancellation came after the factory manufactured it. I mean, that would be like my business. I'm like producing all this stuff and then it just gets canceled. Then what do you do? This left the vendor on the hook for the items. So far, they've had to find other buyers. They told Bloomberg this had never happened before. And we're not talking about toys, but the reason why this is, such a great article is more than likely toy orders, future orders from China are going to go through the same process and get canceled. He has the Amazon heralds itself as the importer in the process, which means they're the ones paying for tariffs when they ship products from Chinese factories to their warehouses in the U.S. Usually Amazon saves money by shipping items in bulk, getting much lower shipping rates than individual vendors. A former Amazon vendor manager who now works as an e-commerce consultant, Scott Miller, says he has seen several clients go through the same crisis with cancellations happening without any warning. He adds that this may cause sellers to start renegotiating terms with Amazon. And this is just a great example of what's going to start happening with goods from China. A lot of these big retailers, like Amazon, they're going to just start canceling these orders, And so when it comes to toys, it will likely stretch into the toys as well. Which, you begin to really question, what should you do? Do you go ahead and I've had a distributor in the past. Like I say their name, I had the distributor for close to a year. I ended up having to cancel with the distributor over some, I had health issues at the time, and so I couldn't keep purchasing products like I had been, and I had some issues with their shipping, getting overbilled, whatever, and so I canceled that agreement with my distributor. And I feel fortunate that I did, because that distributor is going through bankruptcy, or has gone through bankruptcy. And that was after I left. But the thing about distributors is if you start purchasing toys through a distributor, what's going to happen with those toys? Are they going to try to shoot you, all those costs as well? Because when you're trying to stock up for toys, the best way to do it would be through a distributor. That's what I used to do. Used to get a lot of my products through that distributor I had. Now you can buy wholesale toys. You'd have to probably talk to these companies, or maybe you could sign up for like license to play wholesale toy distributor. But I would be nervous doing that at this point for the fact that when you get into these distributors, you make agreements to purchase stuff, and if the stuff keeps going up and they're forcing you to buy stuff, that's why I'm a little bit nervous about signing up with a toy distributor. And I'm not sure how these distributors are going to, have to manage their way through all of these tariffs with China, because obviously they're more than likely getting a lot of their products from China. So how do you go about stocking up, for toys to resell over eBay and other reselling platforms. And that's something that I've been thinking about as well. Do I go out and start to just hunt for certain collectibles that I know that are more than likely going to kind of boom up during Christmas time, cross my fingers? Do I take the risk, try to get an agreement through one of these wholesale toy distributors, which I likely won't, just for the fact that it's going to be a rocky road ahead for anyone who, signs up through these distributors for pricing whatever product. And so there's just a lot of gray areas around what to do for collectible toys. Do you roll the dice and put all your eggs in one basket and go, I'm going 100% in with toys and they're more than likely going to sell? Or do you just kind of hold off and focus on other products? That's just it. So, but the thing is the toy market, if we keep going down this road of tariffs, and let's say that you're fortunate enough that you did find some sellable toys that people are interested in, and as we get closer and closer to the holiday season, that's just it. It could be, the bonanza that you hit. We just don't know. And the reason why it's tough is because I know that Congress would like to hold the reins on how to control tariffs, which in my opinion, as a small business person, I would prefer for Congress to hold the reins over tariffs. And I know that there are congressmen, senators that believe that, Trump's plan, we want to see how it works out, this and that. But as a small businessman, or business person, I should say, it's really tough to navigate business at this point. And you just want to start pulling your hair out because, tomorrow it could be, the tariffs are going up even more, or Trump decided to drop the tariffs. And so if you're sitting here at this time of year, April, and you're trying to decide how to set your reselling business up for the holiday season, because there is the great possibility that this holiday season, there may not be a lot of collectible toys on the shelves. But then again, we don't know, because in this trade war, this kind of tit for tat trade war, by then Trump could have made the decision to, we don't have any tariffs on China. And so if you gamble all of your money going, or a lot of your money going, okay, it's going to be the big toy selling year. Collectible toys are going to be flying out of my, eBay shop, whatnot, or whatever third-party selling platform you're using. You might get extremely burned. And that's just it with this trade war. And so that's why I would prefer for Congress to, you have to vote it in and this and that. It would be tough to do these just kind of waking up one day and no tariffs today, tariffs tomorrow, So this tariff war is making it, to an extent, unnavigable as a reseller to decide on what to focus on. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I could navigate the future better. I wish I had a clearer crystal ball when it comes to tariffs and what I should stock up on and not stock up on for this holiday season. I'm more of a niche seller on eBay. Typically, sports cards, non-sports cards, TCG, get into collectibles, Funkos, other, kind of toy collectibles that you typically would leave in the box over, ripping out of the box and, playing with. But the issue I have with all of this is, as a reseller, you want to make a profit. And if there's an opportunity to make a profit, you want to be able to jump into that opportunity and go, yes, this is the place to be. This is the playing field to play on. The problem is when you're dealing with this tit for tat, decision making on tariffs from the president, we just don't know, and that's a problem. Because let's say that Christmas comes around and there's all this gray area. You didn't stock up on toy collectibles, but they are selling big time, for reselling because they're just not on the shelves in a lot of stores. That's just it. And the tariffs are holding. But then again, let's just say that, well, I ran across this great deal or I got this distributor, so I purchased $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 worth of toys to resell over eBay, whatever. And then by Christmas time, we don't even have a tariff war with China going on anymore. And so you are just sitting there with all the stock that nobody wants to purchase. So for me, I wish the trade war would go away, to be honest, as a reseller. It's just hard to navigate, Yeah, there are opportunities, obviously, that maybe you can cash in on this tariff war, but overall, when it comes to collectible toys, I'm still waking up in the morning, looking at it, going, do I start to get more into these collectible toys? Should I go out, to some of these stores and stock up on some of the better selling stuff? Or should I just not do it at all? Anyway, if you have any different opinions, leave some comments. Comments are great. Thank you to all my subscriber base and all of my recent subscribers. You're all awesome. You're the best thing for this channel. You're the ones keeping this channel going. And if you're a viewer and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so I don't have to continue doing free work, free community service for Google and YouTube. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye.